Thank you. So I'm going to lay this out in a slightly different way. We've already spent $24.5 million on seismic upgrades and security or safety-related features to this bridge. What is anticipated here is, well, it was originally going to be another $25 million in the capital budget, but that has now ballooned to $64 million. So notwithstanding the fact that this has been whittled back to $14.5 million for this interim plan, this is not the long-term plan. This is really just the planning and beginning work of what contemplates a $64 million project. So consider, if you will, the implications if that $64 million is intended to come from developer contributions. As it's been stated here, the money, apart from a small component coming from TransLink, is intended to come from CACs and other developer contributions. So do the math. Think about $64 million. What is that going to be in terms of future development to extract that level of money? And we can only expect that's going to come from one end or other of the bridge. So even though we're paring it down, the plan is there for the full meal deal, and we're just cutting it back because we know we're in a pandemic. And as stated by Councillor Kirby-Young earlier, we have looked at a $250 million capital plan reduction in face of this pandemic, and in large part in recognition of the declining developer contributions. I remain concerned that the city regularized developer contributions as a revenue line item in the capital budgets beginning back in 2009, and our dependence on those developer contributions for this kind of undertaking pose a very serious challenge to the affordability of the city. So as we look at this in the larger context, $64 million has much broader concerns in the overall cost to the city and the people that live here. As far as the safety stuff, this is a very small component of this when compared to the planning that is intending to go for the full $64 million. Now, we could accomplish this through other crossings across Falls Creek. If there was the desire to have a pedestrian bridge, for example, this could be accomplished without taking away capacity from the existing Granville Bridge. It does remain challenging to me as I consider the cost-sharing arrangements that are conceived of by other levels of governments, as they typically only invest in large new capital projects, and this is a retrofit of an existing bridge. There's a lot of difference of opinion on the GHG emissions, suggestions that they will increase, not to decrease, and the impact on the other bridges, particularly Burrard, but also Cambie, and adding additional vehicular capacity because people are still going to need to be able to get around. We're concerned, of course, about fossil fuels in vehicles, but as we transition more and more to electric vehicles, the demand is still going to be there, but the rationale behind the fossil fuels is certainly going to be put into question. The time spent crossing the bridge, whether it's in vehicles or on buses, does not make sense. Sure, everyone supports cycling and walking, but Granville Bridge has the most, I believe, 6 bus routes, as the Cambie and Burrard Street bridges only have 1 each.
I second Councillor Hardwick.
So, in summary, this is a lot bigger than just the $14.5 million that's conceived of now. This is not essential. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. But my larger concern is the implications of the $64 million developer-dependent bridge that's contemplated in the long term. Thank you.